there's something embedded in the DNA. And in the monarchs, it's different from what's embedded in the DNA of the peasants, of the common people. It allows this communication across the cells, and I think between them and something else. Remote viewing is applying psychic ability in a more controlled and conscious way. Welcome back to Magic in the Noise. Today we're going to be revealing some secrets.
Yeah, some time ago, Dick Algar had tasked you under blind conditions, a target that FFG was working.
The focus of it was the coronation. We're going to talk about some of those things that are in my session today.
Yeah, Sasha, I've looked at your session work, and I think anybody who wonders about, from a conspiracy perspective, what might be going on, I think your remote viewing data covers essentially everything everybody's ever feared about that kind of situation. So we're going to cover that, and I don't mean to make light of the information. It's just more kind of both mind-blowing to me and amazing. So in your first session, which I looked through, in a way, it's pretty mind-blowing because your second session covers sort of modern day, near past kind of thing. But your first session, to me, looks like it actually literally goes from today all the way back to prehistory of humans. And you're indicating that there was interaction or manipulation of primitives, primates, basically, to build a form of modern man. It's just wild to me. It talks about kind of the history of the planet and our place in it.
I was so curious about what the target was when I finished my first session, and even more so at the end of my second session. It's so fascinating to me because some of these things I've heard of in passing, and I don't necessarily take a position on. But in my session, it really was clear. There were monkey men that you kind of hear about in old Vedic traditions. And I saw the god tier, the king tier, and they were manipulating the DNA to create the peasants. It was really interesting, the progression from that to then the modern day monarchy in England.
One of the highlights in that first session, you talked about what appeared to be sort of the succession over time of these events in relationship to humanity.
I had the strong sense of this spiral of time, that this was a record of time, and that there are these two events, and I see it now as this repeating of the rituals that happen for each coronation of each new monarch, that there's this history that passes through, the knowledge that passes through, but I think also the power and energies that get passed with every new coronation, secret rituals that happen.
And it also looked like there was almost a relationship between the biological component. To me, I could see the potential that your data was indicating, like a transference of information, possibly across time through the biology. Is that part of what you're picking up on?
Yes, it was something, and I put down in my session, it feels like an RFID chip, but it's not. It's on or in the cells. Now I'm looking at the data from an analyst perspective, and I see there's something embedded in the DNA. And in the monarchs, it's different from what's embedded in the DNA of the common people. And it allows this communication across the cells, across their body, and I think between them and something else. But I think as well, like you're saying, that communication through time, because they pass it on. People talk about the bloodlines. I think that's the thing, is that there's something in the cells that has been embedded in ancient times that tracks through.
Yeah, like cellular memory.
Yes, I think so. And that they're inputting new information into the cells, I think, to give them better access to the knowledge base.
Yeah, and then you also had kind of the origin of this going back to certain portions of the culture on the planet.
It was fascinating to work, to get this data coming through, trying to make sense of it, just trying to record what was coming through without judgment.
Yeah, I found it to be fascinating. And then when we move into the second session,
the portal comes through, the throne comes through, and then the tablet, the book where these rituals are written down and passed down.
What was fascinating is that as you went through that second session, you clearly got information associated with the king and a consort. You got the idea repeatedly through that session of a rose, which is an indication of England.
Yes.
And yeah, it was amazing to see all the detail you had with people on a raised dais, flowers being thrown at them, and you had a lot of ritualistic aspects associated with all of this.
I felt very strongly that this king is of a different race or a different type of being. He's not like us. That it's not just that he's like higher class or higher caste, it's that genetically he's of a different type than we are.
The other thing is that you had the rose depicted within a round stained glass window, which I believe is very pertinent to the king's coronation. Is that not correct?
Yes, so the coronation occurred in a cathedral in England, and there's even video clips online where in the middle of the coronation, the camera captures these hooded figures that are crossing behind that are not supposed to be seen.
Are you serious? I haven't seen it. That's wild.
Yeah, and so I think that the dark rituals, the occult rituals that are happening, were happening in the same place, in the same church. These churches have these rose windows of stained glass. For some reason, I was like, I'm picking up cymatics in association with this, and I didn't understand why, so I just wrote cymatics, and I didn't actually probe it further, and I kind of wish I had. There is a theory that these churches with these stained glass rose windows, the pattern in the window is a representation of the cymatics of the resonant frequency of the bells for that church that would have maybe been, I guess, emitted to help heal the village or to help maybe strengthen the coherence for the ruling monarchs. So there's something in there that ties in.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard of other people who have done research and are spiritual and have determined that a lot of these places like the churches or temples in India, other places like that, that they're actually designed to shift your consciousness into deeper states.
One of the items that came through that I think confirms some of the conspiracy theories out there, I kept being brought back to King Solomon's ring, that was an element of it, aspect of the ritual, and that it was encoded